Up. Yeah, I'm still here. You guys can't get rid of me. This is by far probably my favorite build. This one, like the 38, came completely out of my head. Well, pretty much modified completely out of my head, knowing I had the blueprints from the original Resident Evil 2 game. Literally, I had my old system playing alongside my, I think it was the 360 at the time of building this. So I was swapping back and forth to try and get the camp, get all the designs and everything right, get the layout right and everything. It took a lot longer than it should have, whether if I just went out on the internet, got blueprints that way, but I think it turned out a little bit better than some of the ones I've seen. Not saying it's the best, not saying it's the worst. I think it's pretty good though. I'm happy with it. So, if you go into entry, if I remember correctly, Resident Evil 2, you actually came in from the other side and you had two steps, two ways you could go. Underground, where you had to two or three crawler zombies to go get through, which were relatively easy. Or you had the little garden trellis area here that had four or five. I don't remember off the top of my head. It's been a while. But as soon as you got past them, you would go right in. Then you would be locked out. Now the police station actually showed up in two games, if I remember correctly. Resident Evil 3 Nemesis and Resident Evil 2. This is more pulled from the Resident Evil 2 game, just because that was that was actually the first one I played, therefore it was my favorite. But it was they're pretty much the same between the two of them. Now, the first room you go in as Leon, anyways, is the room here where I don't remember the name of the cop, but it was the dying cop that was on the ground, and he gives you the first key card, which opens up a door further in the area. So this would be the office that he was found in. Then it's I think it's the warden's room? No, not the warden's. It was one of the higher officer rooms that's in there. Then the tellers, which you really can't see from this area, but you can see it from the next area. Then you get the reception area, and as soon as you find there was a typewriter, I think it was this one was the typewriter, and it was the computer that you had to type in the right code, and it would drop the ladder, therefore allowing you to get up to the second floor easier. That was a fun little puzzle they had there, but I ain't going into that. Then you go into the one room where you're first encountered with. Actually, I don't think there was any zombies, but there was a locked desk that had weapon upgrade parts. It's one of these two sides. I think it was this one. It had weapon upgrade parts for your pistol, if I remember correctly. But here's the tellers from the other room saying, "Why are you here?" More or less. Well, yeah, pretty much. Why are you here? Who do you want to see? Then I couldn't do it in this game, but if you ever played Resident Evil 2, you came down here, stopped about right here, you were caught with the cutscene where the Lickers, or I think it's Sherry and Claire call them, in one of the books, it was the Inside Out Men. It was basically the big ugly liquor guys that were very difficult to kill. But I couldn't do all the dripping blood and everything. If you know how to do it, leave a comment, because I will add it in. Anyways, this is one of the storage rooms where you can find some ink ribbons and I think it was just some standard ammo. I think it was also a crank in here for later in the game. That one I don't remember off the top of my head too much. Mainly just storage. And you would go through here. Another long hallway, which once again didn't do boarded up windows, but they were in there. Then you would go into the one classroom, which they had the board, and then you would go right to the back, which for some reason never could figure this out. They did have a fireplace in with a picture hanging above it. Whereas if you lit the fireplace, the picture burned up, you got the ruby thing, which is used to progress further in the game. Why they had a fireplace in a storage area? Who knows? But that's the way they designed it. And as we continue along, it's yet another hallway. And if we go here, it is one of the evidence locker rooms and the black room in the back. Which the black room is used to develop, I think it was 3 hidden pictures that you had to find throughout the game. If you developed them, you got a secret ending. Me being the die-hard Resident Evil fan I am, did actually find it, and it wasn't that much different. It was just a little bit more secret area thing to it. It wasn't too much, to be honest. Then you go in here, and it would be the morgue, which, once again, kind of hard to do coffins, but eh. And then it leads you back into the area where the one officer died, and which he has turned into a zombie, which we're in peaceful, so I can't actually put the zombie in. Oh well. Then you grab the key from him and move on. Pretty much. Then as you would go up the stairs, go down here, this door was actually blocked off. I didn't have it I don't have it blocked off in mine, but in the real game it was broken and boarded up if I remember correctly. Then there was the 2 puzzles. The one puzzle that you had to do, you had to move this side all the way over to here, and vice versa, to get the second gem, which was used later in the game to get another key. Gotta love Capcom and their puzzle games. Horror puzzle games. Then, this was actually seen and stolen from Resident Evil 3. It's the S.T.A.R.S area. The S.T.A.R.S office, per se. Which I was shown a little bit in Resident Evil 2, but I didn't get it. It wasn't the camera angles. If you ever played them, they were basically the third-person video camera styled camera, so it didn't give that good of an area. But you could find a grenade launcher, the rocket launcher, in the weapons locker if you were Claire, and I think it was a shotgun if you were Leon. And then a crossbow if it was Resident Evil 3. But it was Chris and Jill's office area, Barry's office, Rebecca's. No, Rebecca's was this back one. I'm not going to be able to remember what his was. It was the helicopter pilot. Leave a comment if you remember his name. I think it was Brad. And then, of course, my favorite character, Albert Wesker, which happens to be the bad guy. He's cool, and he shows up in multiple other of the Resident Evils. And moving quite along. We go into yet another hallway, which, if I remember correctly, there was the vending machines, which were useless and broken in the game. Another area where you could unlock if you had the little small keys and get a weapon part to upgrade your weapon. Then it would be the puzzle area that you had to move the bookcases in order to get a little piece of the, I think it was a clock when it was a gear, and you ended up having to drop down from here, press the button, then it would open the little puzzle thing, and it would allow you to get the gear. And won't go up to the 3rd floor yet, because that was actually later in the game that you did get to the 3rd floor. Let's finish off the 2nd floor. Then it would be the receptionist for the main, I think it's actually the Warden, or whatever his name would be considered in this. Then it would be a hallway, which is Leon. You could actually get to this one real quickly. With Claire, you had to do a few other minor things to get to it. Basically, another way to get up to the second floor. Then, as you would continue down here, if you played as Claire in Story B, it would be the big T-100 guy would chase you through. And actually, you would have to come through here first as Claire, but the T-100 would actually chase you as you tried to come back to, because you had to circle around 10 times. As Claire, you had to... There was a helicopter crashed here. You had to turn the little crank that you needed further in, that Leon needed for something else, but you needed it, put the fire out for the helicopter so you could get through. Which is actually also, there's supposed to be some steps over here that I didn't add just because it would mess with the windows and I wasn't going to do all the parking lot and everything with it just because it would take way too much room. But that's the end of that part. And going back in, back through the same way, which as you came through, then you would have a storage room with the puzzle that you actually needed 2 gems for that you got from the paint. What one? Each one weighed a little bit differently. You put them on the scales, got it to even out. It'd give you another part to a clock, or to the clock tower, which signaled something. And oh, I think it just gave you another key. I don't remember. It's been a while. This is the Warden's office that you only get to if you play as Claire in Story B, because you have to explode a wall, actually, because the helicopter breaks it, and you don't get to it unless you're Claire. But then it would go through it, the little hidden passage that they had, to the storage room where, if I remember correctly, it was yet another key, and I think it was also a pretty good weapon in here. I think it was the Magnum hit was hidden in here. I won't swear to that. There was something else hidden in there. Then, backtracking, like usual, all the way, I guess, let's go back upstairs to the 3rd floor. There's not much there. And going back upstairs to the 3rd floor, you remember you could go out on this balcony. There was 2 or 3 zombies on it that you could either kill or run by. And you would go into here, and there would be a whole puzzle thing that, unfortunately, due to space limitations, I could not do here. One of the things I wish I could do actually ended up being a 4th floor on it, which wish I could do. If I ever go back, I might do something with it. Probably not. But, oh well. Then, as we are backtracking yet again, we go to the other area, which is, actually, if I remember correctly, it's how you get to the basement in the real game and outside. Actually, no, it's just the basement. In here, there's a little safe that you have to crack. I don't remember the combination to it off the top of my head, but I did at one point know it like the back of my hand. Yeah, I was that diehard. Then here's how you would get to the 2nd floor if you were playing as Leon the first time. Because if I remember correctly, the other doors were locked. Then you would go through here. It would be zombies. Actually, I think it was the zombie dogs. I forget what their code name was. They would bust through the windows, and if you didn't have the, I think it was the electrical tape and a little wire splice that was on an alarm box, like right around here somewhere, that you could close the shutters with. And then this area would actually lead you downstairs. But because we are on a super flat world, I unfortunately could not do it downstairs. really wish I could, but was unable to due to super flat having, say, what is it, like, what is it, Josh? 4 levels down below it? Anyways, moving right along. We had yet another hallway where, if I remember, actually this one I don't think the zombie dogs went by. But it is the interrogation room where you do have the one-way mirror. Where in here there was, I think it was one of the little emblems you needed for another portion of the game. But this room was locked. You had to go through the other room first to get to it. You would look in, you would see the glimmering little, I guess it was just a little icon they used. It was just like a little glimmer. And it would signify that there was a key or ink ribbon or ammo or something. Then you would be able to get through there because someone would break the glass, unlock it. And through here would be the final office that they had in the game. I don't remember actually really what was in here, if anything. I think it was just health and some ink ribbons. Which, if you're unfamiliar with the game, ink ribbons is what you use to save. But that is it to the Resident Evil police station, shown up in 2 games. Probably either the most famous Resident Evil building or the second most famous due to the Resident Evil 1 mansion or Spencer estate, depending on how you want to call it. That one might show up in a later video. Not saying that I've been working on one otherwise, but there you go.
Alright
Any other
guys,
comments,
thank you
Josh?
all for watching. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. I make videos every week. And peace out.